Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Coach Gabby.
I'm Coach DP.
And we want to welcome you to the Coaching Corner.
Yeah, so welcome to the Coaching Corner where you can authentically be yourself. The thing that we take pride in when it comes to the Coaching Corner is we get tons of great coaches on the line and we let them tell their story, their journey. And the main thing is everybody can be themselves. I know you've been on tons of Zoom calls, learning and conversating. But at the same time, sometimes you can feel like, you got a couple things that you want to let loose, but you can't really let loose in that environment. So we like to have an environment where you can really be yourself. So today in the Coaching Corner, oh my goodness, man. So first of all, let me say, I've known Coach Richard since I was 18 years old. When I was a manager at Kentucky State University, she was an assistant coach there. And the work ethic that I seen was phenomenal. Not to mention, a bona fide scorer, like one of the best scorers I've ever seen.
Let's go.
So that's the side note. But on the coaching side, man, her work ethic, the way that she recruits, the way that she gets after it, the way that the energy that she has in the practice is unbelievable. So we're going to open the floor up. We're going to let Coach Richards kind of tell how you got to where you are and just tell us your journey a little bit.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Gabby. My story. I greatly appreciate that. As you mentioned, my first step was Kentucky State. I got a phone call from Coach Hurd when she was on here a couple of weeks ago. And I played for Coach Hurd at the University of Nebraska. So we already had an outstanding relationship, player coach. And I actually, it's really funny. I'm going to date it back even before that. I actually met Coach Hurd when I was like 14, 15 years old. I used to go play at the recreational center with the older girls because I always wanted to play up. I was a sophomore in high school, but I always wanted to play with the older girls. So I was getting recruited by a couple of universities, and WKU was one of the universities that was recruiting me. And she, of course, went there. So she was, talking to me about different things. So I used to go with a couple of my teammates, but they stopped going, but I still wanted to go. So Coach Hurd, I'll never forget this day. So I was going home. We all was finished playing. So I was going home, and Coach Hurd was like, how you getting home? I was like, oh, I just live around the corner. I'm going to walk. She's like, you going to walk? So she's like, no, it's dark. I'm going to take you home. I'm like, yes, ma'am. So from that day on, every Tuesdays and Thursdays, we used to play from 7 to 9 o'clock. I didn't miss a beat. I used to go by myself. And every night she would take me home. So that whole year, we just built an outstanding relationship. And, of course, she ended up getting a call from Paul Stanford, which was recruiting me at Western. And they went to Nebraska. And the story was there. I ended up being a Cornhusker. But fast forwarding to my coaching career. So after college, I knew I was like, you know what? I want to stay with the game of basketball. I wanted to coach, be some way, some shape, form, fashion involved. So what I was telling her about, like, okay, I think I want to coach. I think I want to do this. She's like, okay. So I was an intern after I graduated, I was an intern for a mission in Nebraska for a year. So it was great because I got to learn the academic side, which was awesome. And I was like recruiting. I did minority recruiting. So it was like really good. So I got to learn a whole different aspect of the university and the campus field. So I knew then, I was like, oh, I love working on the campus. This is my type of style. And then being an academic, I really liked that because as an athlete, it was just totally different. You just focusing on you and it's different, just your responsibility. So that role really helped me a lot to today. So when Coach Hurd got the call from K-State, to be the head coach, I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. She's like, well, I got something to ask you. I was like, what? She was like, would you be my assistant? I was like, what? I was like, your assistant? I was like, you mean like your GA? She's like, no, my assistant. Okay. So I'm like, okay, of course. So I was extremely excited, but I was young. I mean, I had just finished playing ball like 2 years. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm like 23 years old. And how am I about to do this? And my biggest fear was, oh my God, I got to Kentucky State. These young ladies ain't that much younger than me. They ain't gonna listen. But I would never forget, we got the workout. We did our team rules, team meetings, but we got the workouts. And when I seen their talent, I was like, oh, they're going to listen. because I knew then I would be able to show them a different way of how to do things, and I was still able to play and demonstrate the different things. And from day one, I instantly earned their respect. And I always kept it like, I kept the doors open like, hey, I'm a coach, but I'm here to listen. But I always kept that fine line because I knew I was so young. And I know sometimes my personality can get a little conflicting, but I always wanted to keep that professionalism at that point. Like, hey, I'm your coach. You know, you're going to do as I say, and it's going to be that line of respect. So it was very exciting. Like I said, we got there. We had a rough first year. You know, we was rebuilding. They won like one game prior to we getting there. And our first year, we won like 6 games. And then that second year, we brought in like 9, 10 players. And we won like 19 games. And coach got coach of the year. It was just unbelievable. So after I left Kentucky State, Coach Walls had called. And so Coach went there, and then of course I played for Coach Walls at Nebraska too. So he was like, "I want you to come too, Margaret. You know, you still can sit into the meetings." And he wanted me to be a GA there, and I was like, you know, I prayed about it, and I was like, you know what, it'd be awesome for me to, you know, get at that level, just learn how they do things, and just take a back seat and just continue to soak in that information and grasp all of that, being at that level, how we did things recruiting wise. I mean, that year it was unbelievable how we did like underclassmen day. How we just did creative mail out. I mean, from every aspect, I learned so much. Sitting in them coaches meetings, taking notes, picking their brains, just doing how we did practice. I mean, everything was just awesome. So I was a GA there for a year. And so then I had an opportunity to get back into coaching again. So I actually went to St. Aug. I went to be a assistant coach, but something happened, you know, with the head coach. So I ended up being the interim head coach. And again, it was another challenge at a young age that I had to step up to the plate and had to learn the ropes. So I used my my coach's platform, and I was calling different people like, hey, you know, I have to do X, Y, and Z. And I just put together a program, and I knew all the stuff and all the job titles I had at Kentucky State. So it helped me tremendously because it was just 2 of us. So I had a lot of responsibility. So, and I had a great assistant coach too, Coach Oliver. He helped out a lot. So we had a great run. I mean, we won our first year. I think we won like 16, 17 games. The next year we won the same amount. I mean, we had a great run there at St. Aug, and I had a great experience. And I think that stop at Kentucky State really helped me with them 2 years, having all those responsibilities and knowing the ropes at the Division II level. So I knew a lot. I felt very comfortable in their environment. I knew how to work with, I knew how to work with a little, so I never complained about that. I knew how to get the best out of my kids. I knew how to do the conditioning programs, the weightlifting programs, my practice settings. So I knew how to do all those different things because I had already been at that level. Mm-hmm. So I got a call from another colleague, Coach Stevens at North Texas, and she wanted me to come out to North Texas to be a recruiting coordinator. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is not happening again. And so I had to make some decisions. So I just kind of, I'm like, oh my God. So I just kind of prayed about it and just kind of, and I knew my ultimate goal was to be a Division I head coach. And sometimes you have to go back, and I was like, well, I've been an assistant coach at the Division II level. I've been a GA at the Division I level. I've been a head coach at the Division II level, but I have not been an assistant at the Division I level. So I figured like, okay, I need to go be an assistant and have them assistant coaches duty to be able to learn the ropes of being an assistant coach at the Division I level, so I can have that on my resume as well. So I just, I just thought about it, prayed about it, and God led me to that direction. I coached at, North Texas in the Sun Belt Conference, as a recruiting coordinator, and that was great for me to get some, Texas ties at, being that Texas got a great recruiting base. Large, all kind of awesome basketball there. So I looked at all of that too. So that was great. We had a good run. I was just there for 1 year, and then Beth Ann, a coach that I met at the University of Louisville, she got the Weaver State job. So she had called, and I went out there with her, in the Big Sky. So again, I've lived all over, by the way. So I got a good opportunity to work with Beth Ann as an assistant coach in the Big Sky. We had a great time out there, just trying to help her get started to build her program. And then I get the call the next year from Coach Hurd. She got her dream job, which was Western Kentucky. So of course she asked me to come back home and Of course, I couldn't pass that up. You know, I was ready to get back home. I've been away from family for, you know, some years. So I just thought that was a great opportunity. And we've always talked about that job too. So it was like a dream come true for both of us. I knew how important that was for her to get that opportunity. And I wanted, and I promised her, you know, I know I've been from different spots, but I will not leave you until I help you win a championship, because this is your school. You know, I know how much you're going to invest in, how much you dreamed of this job, and I want to help you be as successful as possible, because you got me started in this business. I want to do everything I can to help you do that. Mm-hmm. So I was there for 3 years. We won 76 games in 3 years. We won like 3 championships. I mean, it was just unbelievable. One regular season and 2 conference championships, one in the Conference USA, one in the Sun Belt. So we was just, you know, recruiting was great. We did a lot of great things. I learned a lot from some veteran coaches, and, you know, just all type of things we learned, and we was able to implement from different places we've been, and we all collaborated together, and it was awesome. So after the 3rd year, you know, Clemson calls me, and I was like, oh no, coach, I can't go nowhere. You know, we doing good things. And she's like, I know, but, you know, we just kind of talked about it. She's like, well, you know, we won our championships here. We've done this and that. So it's time for you to, you know, get at that level. So again, I've been assistant at mid-majors, Division IIs, but I never was assistant at the BCS level. So I went to Clemson as an assistant, you know, in the ACC with Coach Audra Smith. It was great. She was unbelievable. We did a lot of great things there. I built a lot of relationships there. I learned a lot being at that level, and just how different things was done. So that was an awesome experience for me. And then Mr. Hicks called in May and was just saying, hey, how are you? And I already knew in my heart what that call was about and what was going on. And, you know, 4 years ago, he called me and asked me, you know, am I interested in a position? And I just couldn't, I knew it was God, because he actually called me when I was at WKU, but I just wasn't the time, because I did not help Coach Hurd win that championship. So I wanted to be clear about that. It was after my 1st year, and I knew I needed to stay and help. I knew we had something special with the kids we were bringing in, and just the conversations we was having and how invested the whole staff was. So when he called me again that 2nd time, I knew I just had to go, and I knew it could be something special, you know, with that. So end up coming here. 1st year was extremely rough. I mean, I wasn't able to recruit. I got the job in June. All the kids was in place. So we won like 2 games. I mean, we was awful. We was the worst program in the country, literally. So, but one thing I did, I stayed the course. I stayed with my philosophy, with what, you know, who I am, and I never lost sight of that. You know, I maintained my positivity as far as with my staff. I didn't point fingers, you know, and I knew we couldn't do nothing but get better. I knew it was no way but up. And I knew the way we worked, it was going to pay off, you know, and I knew it wasn't going to be a quick fix, because we wasn't able to really get a lot of JUCOs and, you know, so I knew we was going to have to do it the way of getting freshmen, building them up, getting them better, skill development, you know, personal relationship development, just doing all of that, because I had to turn the program inside out, both athletically and academically. So that's why I'm just so excited. You know, I just try to surround myself with an amazing staff and somebody that's going to be invested, and people that I can trust, and people that's going to just work, and not going to be afraid to work and afraid to fail, you know. So the 2nd year we signed like 9 players, and we went from like 2 games to like 11 games. And then the 3rd year we went from 11 games to 13 games. And then this year we went from 13 games to 17 games. So it's been a complete progress, and we can actually see it now. We getting better players. Our players they understanding what we want, because the culture, and this is one thing I tell people, when a culture is bad, you know, you're not just trying to win on the court. You got to win in that locker room. You got to win around the institution, because when a culture bad, academically, athletically, socially, you have to beat all those odds. And I learned that quick, you know, because I've been blessed at places like I just told you. When I was at Western, we won 76 games. And when I was at Louisville, went to the Sweet 16. When I was at St. Aug at that Division II, we won. I mean, we went to semifinals in a conference. We won. I had all conference players, you know. So this experience has been amazing to me. It's helped me grow grow as a coach, as a person in many ways I can, could have ever imagined. So I'm excited about that. I love what I do. I love developing my players and, growing to me. And this time as COVID-19 have given me the opportunity to reflect and just really figure out like what I need to do. What are some things that we can do better? I'm just hungry for the knowledge and the wisdom to continue to grow with my team and myself as the leader of this program. So that's where we are now. Sorry if I took too long, but that's where we are.
That was great, man.
I just thought about how many places you have lived over the years. Oh my God, you done been everywhere.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So, we're going to go a little bit deeper with a couple questions that we have, and then we're going to open it up to the crowd and let people
no problem
actually register for the call, ask some questions that they may have.
Okay.
So to start out, first of all, congratulations on being promoted to that head coaching position and being able to run your own program. You share with the crowd some of the things that you actually took from the previous programs that you were at to kind of implement in your own program. When you talk about, you mentioned that buzzword that everybody want to know about, culture. Every coach want to know how you change the culture. What do you do to enhance the culture? So what are some of the things that you took from your previous opportunities to your current position when it comes to your culture?
Well, I will first start off with your core values. That is extremely important to me. I always tell young ladies, you're going to be respectful, trustworthy, honest, and we're going to have discipline. Those, we have to instill those core values. That is extremely important. So everywhere I've been, I've always tried to talk about my core values first. And then I go into my rules and regulations and lay it down. I've always been very open and honest with my players, and, I'm able to communicate with them and come down to their level. But they always knew it's going to be that line of respect, honesty, being trustworthy, instilling that discipline in them. That is extremely important. So that's number one. And as far as we talk about our rules, because it got to be some type of rules in place so we can have that structure. Because if there's no structure, you have no program. Your program is going to be all over the place. Your staff from the top to the bottom. So that is important to me. And that's one thing that I feel like when I first got into it, Coach Hurd was extremely structured, because I'm an organized person too. So I love that. So with the structure of how we did things and staying consistent, having a task, completing a task instead of having all these different things going on. When you have that structure for your kids, it's easy for them to succeed. So them are some of the things that I took from when I was with Coach Hurd. I think when I was at Louisville and places like that, I took, how we worked, and it don't matter like when it is, where it is, how long it is. We just work. And it was just amazing. So to me, when you work, you can reap those benefits at the end. You can reap all those benefits, just not being like looking at the clock. Oh, I got to be here and there. No, I was completely invested into our program. And that's how I felt like everybody, when we first got that job at Louisville, everybody was just invested. Like, oh, we got to get these players. We got to do this. We got to do this. We have all these different ideas. We trying to figure out all of this. So everybody was invested. So that's number one. I want to make sure I get kids and people around me that's invested, implement that our core values, that structure, and make sure everybody's invested and making sure we all going to work. Because I think the kids got to see the staff working, because it starts with us. We are the example. So if we not working, the kids feel like they can just do whatever. It was never a time where I'm just trying to lead, even as a head coach. I wanted to be there. I'm accessible. If the kids need something, I'm here. They used to be like, Coach, you still in the office? I'm like, yeah. You need something? When you go home? I said, I'm going home in a minute. But they would just sit there and come and talk. Sometimes they needed that. And that's how, and building relationships is extremely important too. That's number one, building relationships, because you got to have a kid that believe in what you're doing so they can run through a wall for you. So that's another thing that I've taken away from that.
I want to open that up because, I've been around you, like I said, for years. And I've been able to watch you firsthand build these relationships that you speak of. And I'm just going to share with everybody that's on the call. Man, Coach Richards would walk in the gym. Let's say it's 4 or 5 players in there. Every player respected her. Every player looked up to her. And that was something that you just carried everywhere that you went, but you were still, like you said before, you mentioned it earlier, but you were still relatively closer to the kids in age. So what were the things that you did to kind of separate yourself as a coach when you first got your first coaching opportunity?
Well, one thing I did, I told myself I want to meet with all the players individually. I just wanted to get to know them, just where they, just about their family, so they can just kind of talk to me about who they are, what they stand for, and something a little bit about them. So I gave them my background. Hey, I went to school such and such. I did this, and these are my goals for you. And I also had each player write down their goals, because I had a folder for each player, because I wanted to try to help them achieve their goals. And it was not just athletically, academically as well. Because, I made sure I met with everyone academically. And I also told them, like, let me know what you want to do. As far as like, what do you want to be when you got to quit bouncing this ball. So that was number one. It was important for me to just sit them down, meet with them, and do that. And so anytime we was at a workout or anything, I was able to turn it on and turn it off. So I always told them, ladies, this is inside the line when we on this court, in this weight room, on this track, in this gym doing agility. And it's outside the line when we in my office, we laughing and joking, you tell me about your family, your boyfriend, that's different. So I always explain to them the importance of inside the line, outside the line. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be a different Coach Richards inside these lines. I'm going to get on to you. I'm going to demonstrate what I want you to do. I'm going to push you to be the best you can be. I'm going to do those type of things. Outside the line, me and you can sit down. We're talking about, Coach Richards, I really want to be this teacher. What you think? I think you'd be an awesome teacher, X, Y, Z. Where you want to live? You want to live on West Coast, East Coast? So I immediately, I did that first, because I feel like I want to be able for them to hear what they want, and for me to share with them my expectations of them as well. I am coach, but I am here for you. And I always kept that separation like that. And I was respectful to them, and, and they reciprocated the same thing back to me.
Love that, man. And all of this is so authentic, because you are literally just like that in real life. So I second that all the way. So, you've been able to build a phenomenal staff, man. You have a phenomenal staff that's behind you. What are some of the things that you would tell any assistant coaches that are on the line right now, that are looking to maybe take that next step in their career, or maybe they just want to provide value where they are right now? What are some of the things that they can do, that your staff members do, that provides value to the program?
Well, first I will talk about when I was assistant first, and then I will say what my staff do. Well, when I was assistant, I always wanted to be a reflection of my head coach. Like, okay, what would she do in this situation? I wanted to try to handle situations. If she wasn't around, like, what would she do in this particular situation? Before I started my day, I would always have my list of things to do the night before. I would always write down a to-do list. I had this, I always, I'm like, okay, I'm over this, I'm over this, I'm over this, recruiting, academics, all of this. So I will always have my to-do list. But every morning, when my head coach arrived, I will always make sure, like, hey, you good, coach? Because I think sometimes, as head coaches, they have a lot going on. Especially at bigger programs, they have a lot going on. They manage a lot of people. They, got this budget. They have a lot going on. So our job as assistants is to make their job easier. So first and foremost, I always, anytime my boss will come in, any coach I've worked with, like, it don't matter what I have with my to-do list, I want to make sure that I communicate with them first. Hey, good morning, coach. You good? Good afternoon. Whenever they come in the office, is there anything you need for me to get done for you now? These are the things that these are things I'm gonna work on, but hey, is there anything you need at this moment? What can I do to help us before we gotta go to practice, before we start this meeting? Is there anything you need me to prepare or do? If I have any updates, that's very, that's important to update them about, I give them updates. I give it to them, I text, I email, like, hey, I just want to make sure you got this. This is what happened with such and such recruit. Look, we don't fell off a little bit, or such and such offered her, by the way. East Carolina offered her last night. I just want to let you know, so we all in communication. But just make sure you give her a call tonight so we can just make sure we keep up with our communication. But that is very important, that you have that dialogue with your head coach soon as you see them every day before you start your to-do list. because I think that's important, because things come up. Things come up like this. You know, we in the business of it's rapid. It's quick. Things happen on the drop of a dime. Of course, any situation happening with your kids, make sure you communicate that. But I just always want to be a positive reflection of my head coach and try to be her brain or his brain and think about what can I do more to help this process. With my staff, what they do is so great. I broke down different areas where I thought that everybody was strong in. So I provided them with those areas. Of course, everybody do scouting and all of that. I provided those with those areas. So everybody kind of owned their area. And I let them be them and do their thing how they want to do it. And we communicate back and forth about that. But we give them deadlines and we talk about all the things and they do it. I'm not a micromanager because I trust them, but we in constant communication. They responsible, they trustworthy, they work hard, and they dedicated. So I got all of them things. We work together like a team, and we're a team. It's always we. It's always what we're going to do. You guys, what do you think? It's never me. I'm not bigger than the team. I always think of us being a team. Like I said, we was in it together. We lost together. We won together. We do everything together. So that's how I kind of broke my group up, and what they do, they just really good in those areas, what they're responsible for. They are really good in getting the job done and being team players and communicating effectively to me and the group as well when we have something. And everybody's willing to pitch in and help in case something happens to somebody. Everybody's always able to pitch in and help. I don't think we have any weak links. So I really love that, from staff to my managers. I mean, we on them hard too, because the support staff is really important as well, especially at my level when I don't have 1,000 people, adobo and admin, assistant, recruiting coordinator. I mean, I know what all those positions are. So we wearing a lot of different hats. And me as a coach, I don't mind wearing those hats as well. I clean the gym. I do all of that. It's just how I am. I will do whatever I need to do. If I need to create a rooming list real quick, I create a rooming list. I never think I'm too big for those things. And I think that's why my staff and myself, we have a great relationship. We do a great job, and everybody pull their weight, and especially in this, with our community and our staff being that it's not overly big. So everybody work together, and they wear a different hat. We do a great job. So that's what they do for me to make my job easy, because once I give them their task, they're on it. We in communication. We have our meetings. I'll be like, okay, this is the deadline. Is everybody cool? Anybody got any questions? Call me. And I try to explain to them, best way I can, like, hey, it's how I want it. But I'm not like, just because I would do something a certain type of way, I don't make them be like that. I want them to be creative, because when they get a program, you can do it your way. So I give them that room and flexibility to be creative and do things their way. As long as we meet the same goal, that's fine with me. I might write it like this, but you might think it looks better like this. That's okay, as long as we send in the same message. That's why I think my staff works for me, and it's been great. And I've tried to do the same thing when I've been an assistant, long term at other different, at other places. I just always want to make the head coach job easy, because I know they go through so many different things on a day-to-day basis.
Man,
I know it's a little long.
The dream team.
No, that staff is fire. That staff is really, really phenomenal. I mean, you've put together a dream team over there for real. But I mean, your record, it states that, as you look and you're getting better and better, you also have put those type of people around you that have been able to help you to get there. So we appreciate that.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask one more question so everybody could get their questions ready. So
okay.
When we switch it over, we can get into the crowd.
Okay.
But my last question is, knowing that there's so many coaches on the call right now, and even coaches watching on Facebook, what are some of the things that you think that coaches could be working on during these times to kind of separate themselves in a competitive market when it comes to coaching?
I would say, because for me, it's been a lot of different things that I've been doing, just brainstorming for far as player-wise and just different things in our program. I would say basketball-wise, I think you can be really watching film to really figure out, like, what is some of the things that you guys can do as a team to get better. Now, not implement a whole bunch of different things, but what is some areas that you can do for your young lady to be successful on the floor? That's huge to me. I actually have my team watching film every week, and they got to call me so we can talk to them. And I'm going to say one thing. Their perspective is their reality. Every time I watch film, I'm like, oh my God, you didn't see this. But sometimes they just don't. So I've just been the listener. They're watching film, so they're telling me different things that they see. So as I'm listening to them as a coach, as their leader, I'm like, you know what? We need to do X, Y, and Z next year. We need to do this. They're talking about it. That's what they see. So I'm going to get better in them areas that they see. They're going to be more inclined to grow in those areas because it's what they watching. It's what they telling me every week on the phone. That's what they're telling me. So I'm growing right there because I'm thinking we need to do this and do this. And I'm fighting with them. And I'm like, because they don't see it. You know, being more invested with our kids. I mean, I think it's very important, especially for young ladies. In order for a young lady to play well, she has to feel good. If these young ladies don't feel good, they won't perform well. So being more invested in your team and your relationship, and it's not all about winning and losing. Ask them about their family. Get to know them better. You know, I think I made some mistakes where I was more invested in some kids when I should have gave some of that time to my other kids. So I had to sit back and reflect and say, you know what? I could have got more out of Jasmine if I would have did X, Y, and Z. But I didn't give her the attention that she needed. And I can sit back now that if COVID-19 has allowed me to sit down and be still, I can sit back and reflect on the different personalities of my team. I know how talented she is, but it was something I could have did to bring that out of her. And I think as assistants, you really should be thinking about that because sometimes, again, as a head coach, they be all over the place. But as assistants, we can be better with those relationships and bringing that out of our kids, thinking of different ways when we are able to get back to our new normal and on campus to be able to work out with them and do different things and not try to implement a whole bunch of things, building relationships, coming up with different activities y'all can do together that can strategically help them mentally, more mentally than physically. Because I think we lose it mentally. A lot of the game is mental, and I think sometimes that's where we losing at, mental. But I think a lot of those things is, you know, thinking of different activities you can do with them, invest in time, relationship, communication, and showing them that you care. Because again, when somebody feel like you care about them, they will go beyond measures to be good for your program. I truly feel like that.
Man, that answer couldn't. I mean, she's dropping a lot of bombs. I hope everybody has their pens out, pencils out. You writing down. You probably got smoke coming up from the paper. All of this stuff that she's dropping on you.
Man,
you know what I'm
watching
saying?
the film, that
Man,
is from
watching
their
film. Let them tell you, man, we ain't heard that yet, Coach. Could you say that one more time so everybody can catch it? Because it might have went over somebody's head.
What we do, what we doing now. We, you know, because conference games are extremely important. So every week we have a game week. Every week we have game week. So we send them links and you watch the game. So you have to call, you got to take notes of the first, second, and third quarter, and you call me. And that's my way of keep communicating with my kids. We have a Zoom meeting every Sunday, but we doing different things with our Zoom meeting. But every Sunday, every time during the week, you call me and we talk for about 15, 20 minutes about your notes. And then I ask you other things, but that's me building my relationship, getting closer to them. And that's me noting, what do we see? What is our biggest problem? And I see it. I hear it. I see it, but I hear it. So I had to take a different approach. You know, I always ask them these 4 things, you know, after they tell me after each quarter. How was our energy level? How was our focus level? How was our effort level? What was our discipline? Discipline is always last. What was our discipline throughout the whole game? And they're like, oh my goodness. So what I did in one of our team Zoom calls, one of the team activities was, you need to tell me in these 4 areas, how do you plan to be better in practice with your energy, focus, effort, discipline? Because if you can be better in practice in those areas, you can excel on the court in any play, any situation, but you have to be disciplined. It's too many times they watching film telling me, oh, Coach Richards, people didn't know the plays, or we ain't setting screens on bodies. What is that? That's a focus level, that's a discipline level. You know to set that screen. You know what play we're doing, but you're just not doing it. So how do you play? Because I can't think you're going to be better in the game if you're not better in practice with these areas. So I made them type it out to me, email it to me. I printed it out. I put it in their folder. So anytime practice time get, and it make, because it's going to help them be accountable. Because we all know we can't please 14, 15 players. So we got to think of ways and implement in our programs, how can we hold our kids accountable? Accountability is huge. Nobody don't want it. These kids don't want it. But I had them do it. I said, think about it. Before you send me this sheet, tell me what are you going to do in those areas? Your focus, energy, effort, discipline. What are you going to do in those areas? How are you going to be better in practice? Because if you're not better in practice in those areas, I cannot expect for you to perform in a game like I need you to for us to win a SWAC championship.
Woo!
Woo! I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to go ahead and start question and answer. Everybody else can hop in. I done got all my questions answered. I hope you getting your questions answered. So we're going to go ahead and open it up to the group. We just ask that when you take yourself off mute and you ask your question, please state where you're from and your name so Coach can get to know you a little bit more. But we're open. Go ahead and ask any question that you have. Who's up first?
Who's going to break the ice?
Who's going to break the ice?
Normally always Lindsay, though.
I was going to try to let somebody else go. Coach, thank you so much already. I've already got 3 pages. So, I mean, I just really appreciative of this today. But my name's Lindsay Hieronymus. I'm at Eastern Kentucky University as the Director of Player Development here.
Okay.
And so a lot of this is great with advice for assistant coaches. And I like, too, about your journey being at different levels and at different levels at every level, right? So I come from a Division III background where I was also a full-time assistant. And then I've also coached at the high school level, but I'm trying to move up to Division I full-time assistant.
Okay.
Is there anything specific about that jump, moving from support staff to a full-time assistant, that you might give advice to, or maybe something in your own journey that you found was different or the same in kind of moving into those different roles and different levels?
Well, I think what I would do, because I was a GA in Louisville, but Coach Walls was awesome, and he allowed me to sit in those meetings and let me do a lot of different things. I would just say, please sit in those meetings, be involved in the recruiting process, as much as you can. Don't say I have something to do or this and that. Really be involved in that. Like, really be involved in that recruiting. Be involved in the practice meetings. Like if the coaching staff is having practice, you be involved. And if you have an idea, you might can't say it on the floor to the kids, but guess what you can do? You can speak up in those meetings. Hey, Coach, I was just thinking, I've been watching. I think we can, this will really help us out, because what they're showing is like, wow, she's invested. And not only is she invested, she's giving me ideas. People recognize that. You got them 2 set of eyes, and with your experience being in high school and in Division III, where you had to wear a lot of hats as well and do a lot of different things and had limited resources, you are able to see things that maybe them other coaches can't see. So again, if an opportunity comes, she can feel more than comfortable to say, Lindsay's ready to slide right in this spot. I got somebody, because you wasn't being quiet in those meetings. Hey, I have an idea. I encourage you to be invested with those recruiting meetings and those basketball meetings, and learning about the budget, learning about all those different things. Sit with the director of operations, say, hey, what do we do with that? Or, just kind of say, hey, you need any help with that? Just kind of being, assisting and being a help around the office to different areas, so you can really learn what goes on and what role everybody is playing. But I definitely think speaking up and being in those meetings with them, that's what I would say, because that's some of the things that I've done. But I know if I'm a coach and I see people doing it, I'm gonna take note, like, okay, that's a great idea. Or or if y'all have underclassmen day, or I don't know if y'all we do here, but just thinking of different ways y'all can do to implement, like, oh, we can do this, or what about this when we do underclassmen day? So adding different things.
Nice.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. Great question. Great question.
Yeah, it is. Great question.
I have a question.
Okay.
My name is Tiffany Porter Talbert, and I'm from Western Kentucky University. I actually played at Western too, so a lot of history there. So it's nice to be back home coaching. But I haven't coached for a very long time, because I actually played overseas for 8 years after I finished college. And so I kind of when I got into coaching, I was a graduate assistant coach at Doane University right there in Nebraska.
Yep, I know where Doane is.
Yeah, right at Doane. And so I kind of, Coach Hurt gave me this opportunity at Western while she was still there. And then she ended up leaving before when she went to Cincinnati, and then Coach Collins took over and everything. But he was very welcoming, and we have a great staff. But anyways, my question is, like, I know we're kind of doing a film session with our students too, where they kind of with our players too, where they're breaking film down and everything. And I've even learned a lot from just watching film from my first year until this second year, because I've only been at Western this is going into my second season this year. So what I was just wondering, like, what is it that when you watch film, what do you look for in the beginning, whether it's first in recruiting, like as far as like what you're watching to see what is it that you obviously you need in a player, but what do you see in recruiting as far as watching film first? And then when you're watching your own team or when you're watching your opponents, what do you look for first? Like what do you right away you're like, okay, this is what they do for scouting reports.
Okay, so do you want the recruiting answer when I'm watching?
I know that's two separate things, but actually I thought about
I answer both.
So you can do.
I answer both. That's fine. Okay. So when I'm recruiting, the first thing I look for is the player play hard. Like that is my number one. Like if she's being lazy, if she's stopping, if she's pouting, I don't want nobody just acting like a baby, just pouting. The very first thing I look for is their effort. Because your effort and attitude is things you can control. Like when I first got this job, I told the kids I ain't recruit nobody, but there's two things that will get you up out of here. Your effort and your attitude, because you can control those two things. So that's the first thing I look for when I'm recruiting a kid. We all know if a kid can play, if they can, but the effort and attitude, that does not lie. And film does not lie, because you keep on rewinding it, you can stop it, you might can be in the game and look at somebody like, she just do that, but you can't rewind it if you actually sit there. But if you at home watching that film, you can stop it, rewind it, do all of that. So the effort and attitude is number one. The skill set, that goes without saying. We all probably looking at different things for our skills, but effort and attitude is the first thing I look at, because they're my things you can control, and I don't want nobody with no piss poor attitudes and have a lack of effort, because I can't win a championship like that. As far as when I'm doing scouting reports, the thing I look for, I'm a man coach. We play a lot of men. So I'm looking for, how's this team scoring? And we've been really good defensively over the years. Since I've been in the SWAC, we've been top 2 in defense, in our defense. So I'm looking at their offense like, okay, what do they run? Who is their top scorers? How can we stop them and make somebody else beat us? Like, how can we make it difficult for them to score? Because I'm thinking defense, because I might be off on my offense, but I am thinking, how can we stop them so we can make it difficult for them? If they got 2 players averaging, 20 points and 15 points, how can I get one of them players to get 7 points? And maybe that 20-point player get 15, and somebody else got to try to beat me. So that's, number one, we try to dissect players like that. As far as offensively, looking at them defensively, I look at, we run a ball screen offense and, some 4-out 1-in motion. We do a lot of that too. So I look at who's going to be my mismatch on the floor. How can we isolate the weakest link on defense? That's what I look at. Did I answer it for you?
Yeah, I did. Sorry, I went to 2-part
No, it's
question.
fine. No, that's fine.
I thought about it as I was asking, because I was like, I want to know both. So
no, it's fine. I understand.
Because everybody, like you said, kids even look at film differently. So what they're seeing and what we're seeing, it's just like, even from what our kids are saying, we're sitting there watching as they dissect it, and it's like, okay, they saw that a little different than I did. But, everybody has a different view, and you got to take it in because they're the ones on the floor. So that's important.
And I'm glad, and I'm so glad. You are absolutely right. And that's why I strongly encourage people. I'm telling you, because I could not grasp why my point guard was making the decisions she was making, and how my guards wasn't seeing. I'm like, y'all don't see that? But now that they're watching it, and I'll shut my mouth and I just listen. I just ask one question after each quarter. That's my rule. I ask them one question after each quarter, and I just let them talk. Yeah. And honestly, they told me, I told them, I said, do y'all like doing this? They said, Coach Richard, I love this. I said, why? They said, because when we in school, I feel like I'm rushed to watch it because it's like they always got something to do. They always on the because I give them, they got like 4 or 5, they got to the week to watch it. We give it to them on Sunday. They got their days. As long as they get it to me by Friday, as long as we have our conversation by Friday. They said they got the time to really sit down and watch themselves. And they brutally honest too. Like they not just telling y'all good stuff. So I think it's different. People perception is their reality. You better believe it, coaches. I mean, what these players see, that's their reality.
Thank you.
No problem.
Coach Brian in the chat said, awesome question and answer.
Oh, thank you.
No better than that. Who's next? We got more questions. Hop up in there and get those questions answered. Man, get better today. Let's get better. Who's next? Who we got? I love that watching film, man, because I started out as a video coordinator, so I learned the game. I learned the game from watching film. For real. That's a whole nother. Oh, let's go. Diane, you're up.
Diane Kunkel from Miami, Florida, Coach. This is awesome. Getting a whole lot of information, writing a lot of notes. Question for you is, can you give us some ideas of what kind of things you do for team building? I know there's the standard answers, but you're kind of looking for something different.
Okay. Well, I can tell you something that we're doing, that we've done in the past, and something that I'm doing now. It's just great that we got this whole Zoom thing, and we on the COVID. So what I'm doing now in the month of June, I have a friend, college teammate. I try to use my resources to the best of my ability. She's a therapist. So she is doing some mental wellness with my team. She got this 5-part project that she's doing, and it is unbelievable. And she's talking about hope, belief, self-confidence, and she's doing a whole different thing. They got to take this assessment, and they doing all of it. And she does not, and I'm not on the phone call. So I just, it's them, and I will come in at the end. It's a 4-part series, 5-part series, and I come in on the 4th week, and we'll all come together and talk about our goals as a team. But right now, she is building their confident. Well, not really. She's building it, but she's helping them build it. Where they're talking about they being very transparent with her and doing different tests and stuff. So we're doing that. So, and like I said, I'm just using my resources, and she's doing that team project with our team. We also did this thing called Your Why. So it was a neat project. And what we did, we asked the girls, like, what is your why? Like, what is your why? Meaning, what do you do? What do you do this for? Why are you in school? Why are you playing basketball? Like, who is somebody that motivates you? So what we did, we had them like either think of different quotes, and it was so cool. Everybody like put different things, like pictures of maybe their family, their coach, quotes, Martin Luther King. I mean, it was just all kind of different things that people did. And we had them all stand up and just talk about their why, and we eliminated it and put them in their lockers and did all of that. It was just awesome. We really, really loved that. Those 2 things that popped off my head that we've done a great job of, just talking about that, getting the kids involved, just talking about like who are they as a person. So there was 2 things that we did that I really, really enjoyed.
That's awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Love that. Thanks for that question, Diane. Okay, so we have a question coming out of the chat. So Brian asks, how do you teach? Oh, whoa, I just lost it. Hold on 1 second. Let me get that back. Okay, how do you teach or implement your man defense considering players probably learn different principles or tendencies? I guess in terms of progression.
Okay, and that's a great question, Brian. What we do is we break it down. We do 2-on-2, 3-on-2 help and recovery. Then we'll go 4-on-4 shell, and then we'll progressively get to 5-on-5 shell. Because you are absolutely right, and we always try to stick to the specific terms, hedge, different things like that. When we talk about screen help side, help and recover. So we make sure our wording is always the same, so we won't confuse our players. But we break it down into sections, like we do 2-on-2, 3-on-2 help and recovery. Then we even do 3-on-3. Then we do 4-on-4 shell. Then we'll do 5-on-5. 4 out, 1 in with a post. So we make sure every position work on post defense, because you never know when that point guard get back, she may be in the post for a while. So it is very important that every position work on post defense.
Love that.
Love it.
Hope it answers you, Brian.
He
Coach,
said,
going off that, do you also make sure every post plays the perimeter defense? Like you have all of your bigs play perimeter?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I love recruiting kids that can play both. I mean, we probably got, on my team now, I got 1 traditional 5. Everybody else, athletic, long, they can play, of course, on the perimeter. So absolutely, every post, and even my traditional 5, we put her butt out there too, because you just never know. I mean, the game can be on the line, and I need you to switch all screen and not get no 3 off. And if she's in that game, she better get her big butt out there and switch on that screen, get her hands up, and not foul. So yes, we always put yeah. And remember, the post defense is last, so everybody's on the perimeter at all times. Sprinting over the help, not sliding, sprinting. It is very important that every time the kids want to slide, you guys, we make them run. We're like, you were sliding, go on sideline. So it is very important. Those little details is very important.
Get her big butt out there and go guard.
I have another question.
Yes.
What is the best way to watch film with your kids? Like when you watch it one-on-one with them, like, do you just kind of listen and see what they see, or do you kind of lead it mostly and, tell them what you see that they're not doing and what they did do well?
Okay. I'm gonna answer that like this. When I, after a game or after some stuff like in practice, it depends on how we watching it. So, for example, I say after a game, it's what I used to do with my 2 point guards. I used to watch film with them personally. Like if I'm getting on them to a game, I'm getting on them and they just not understanding, like, oh, you just on me, So I watch film with them. I'll be like, listen, you watch this and you talk to me. And then they be like, oh. So what I try to do, because a lot of times kids do not understand why you're getting on to them. So I want them to, I'll point out some of the things. Hey, remember I was getting on you about making them silly passes or passing from your chest and not throwing it up, Or remember I was getting on you about looking up, advancing that ball off the court. Remember I told you the post was wide open, but you jacked up a 3 when I don't know what you was thinking. When I want a 2, I want to go inside out because that's how we play. So I will give them those. I will talk to them about that. So then we'll watch film and I'll let them kind of tell me, like, so tell me what you see. Do you see what I was saying? Because that's important. I need them to be able to implement those things so we can win. But I want to go back and watch it with them because I had just got on them about what they was doing when they didn't believe me until they watch it. So that's how I watch it with them one-on-one. I will have some things that I need them to see. And I will ask them, like, literally, do you see it? Oh, yeah, Coach Richards, I Okay. So, yeah, that's how I do it.
Love it.
Love it. Any more questions? Anybody have a question? Okay, so we have one coming. Oh, go ahead, Coach.
Good evening. How you all doing? Coach Margaret, thank you for doing this, and Coach DP, same thing to you and your wife. Quick question. This is a non-athletic question, more of a from like an administrative standpoint.
Okay.
Seeing that you've been at a number of different institutions, budgets are extremely different.
Absolutely.
So how do you go about making the adjustment? Because basically that's what it is, from a Division II to a Division I, high, depending upon high level, low major, Division I. So do you have, I guess my question is, do you have a specific Excel file to where you already have it broken down that you brought from another institution, or do you create your own as you go? Or how did that particularly work? I'm not sure.
Well, I think of course, if I have different budgets, I'll just have my own as where I am at that time, and I'll make that work, and I'll just figure out like how we can do things at this institution. Like, of course, Clemson's going to be totally different than Western or where I am now, Alabama A&M. So what I have to work with, I sit down with my AD, like, okay, this is what we got, so I'll strategically break things up and see, its priorities. What's going to be important? We know recruiting, scholarships, doing all of that, taking care of the kids, travel, all of that, because we still want to do things the right way and I want my kids to have a great experience. So, we'll sacrifice in some areas if needed, versus, I want my kids to have a great athletic experience. So no, I will do wherever I am, I will have that Excel budget sheet with me where I am, because it's going to be totally different. School to school is going to be totally different. So it'll be a totally different setup. So that's how I will manage that and do that way. Wherever school I am, they'll tell me what I'm working with. Then I'll break that down and things I need to do. Then I'll prioritize with that.
Nice.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Nice. And we're actually, let's bring in an admin, right? So let's ask Robert. Could you give us a tip when it comes to some behind the scenes with budgeting for any coaches?
No, I think Margaret's right, spot on with that, because every school is going to be so different. You're going to adjust things when you get into a situation. You're going to have to look at what was going on the year before. And before you got to an institution, and really understand what they were doing, and start to adjust some things in a way that fit your style, fit your mode. Margaret may want to come in and realize that what they eat on the road is more important than where they're staying, or vice versa. Different things like that. You got to adjust those type of things by what you've been influenced by, what's important to you.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Thank
you, Robert.
Thanks, Rob. Sorry for putting you on the spot. It's just a part of being, an administrator. You know what I'm saying? We all can't be coaches on the line. We got to bring in some admins at some point, right?
You gotta grab what you can from everybody.
Yep.
Right. We got an AD on the line too. Diane's also an AD as well. So we have her on.
Yep.
All right. Any more? Oh, we had the question from the chat. Let me get back to that. So Brian asked in the chat, he said, what do you see the game of basketball trending to next? Right now, there's a lot of ISO and pick and roll activity with outside shooting. Do you see this continuing for a while, or do you see something else as the next iteration?
He got a point there. It's funny that you asked that, Brian, because I was just speaking to my my staff, and I said, from watching these films, from looking at these stats, I had a group of guards that didn't average going to the free throw line 10 times a game because they want to shoot all these jump shots. And then I got a post player, that had some success this year. She's like, Coach, I want to work on my threes. I'm like, what the world? So I do think a lot of the kids are becoming more versatile, and they want to be more on the perimeter and play more on the perimeter. But I'm hoping that we can go back to being more aggressive, getting to the basket, and getting more and ones, and going more inside out, having more true 5 players and playing like that inside out game. So I'm hoping we can go back to that style a little bit more of your traditional 5 players, and you have your 4, your stretch 4s, but having a more traditional 5, being able to be a powerhouse, around the basket. So I'm hoping that we can do that, because I think it opens up basketball. I think it's a nice piece of art with basketball when you go inside out and do all of that, instead of, my 5 thinking she's a 3-point shooter and all these different things. But be really good around the basket first. If you're a driver, drive and get to the hole and be aggressive. That's what I like to see, the excitement of that. And, that's how we won championships. We had kids that can do a variety of things, but we attacked in the inside too. We was very aggressive when we was at Western and doing those type of things. So I hope that it can go back to inside out, and guards being aggressive drivers, and post players really being dominant in the post and scoring around the basket, and shooters being shooters. So that's what I'm hoping that it trend back to. So I think that's what I think we can be really good at, as far as the game of basketball. I hope it can trend back to that.
Love it. So we're going to take one more question.
Okay.
One more. Who's next?
I don't know if anybody has anything. If so, that hasn't gone, I can let them. But I do have another question.
Okay.
It's all right.
Utilizing this. Let's go.
Come on, Tiffany. Let's go.
I'm just wondering, this is a recruiting question.
Okay.
So with recruiting, you build relationships with the kids, obviously through recruiting, and you talk to them for a long time. What do you think, what would your advice be as the best way to close a deal on a kid? Like without, we don't pressure kids to do things and make decisions, but to get them to that point where they feel like this is where I need to go instead of I just want all these social media posts.
It's funny that you asked me that, Tiffany, because again, we had a true heart-to-heart today, and I said, let me put on my recruiting hat. So I said, staff, we have recruited some of these kids for like 3 or 4 months, and some of them like for a year. And I said, I don't hear, as I'm talking to my staff, I don't hear the conversation progressing.
That's what I'm saying.
It's very general. I said, so here's what we need to do. I just told them, listen, you have to tell them, I'm taking our top 2, and I got to be really real with them. I don't have 10 scholarships. I only got 2, and I offer like 5, 6 people. So I want kids that want to be here, but I need to be honest with those kids. Like, hey, such and such, kid A, hey, girl, we've been talking forever. Absolutely, I love everything. I think you could be a great fit to our program. Actually, I think you can be the face of this program in a couple of years. And I think you can help us be the top 1 or 2 kids. I said, but you really need to let me know what else is it that we can do? Like, kind of put them on the spot. Mm-hmm. What else is it that we can do? What else is it that you're looking for? Because at this point, I feel like we got a great relationship. I've been in communication with your parents. We showed you everything the school has to offer. You said you really like us. At this point, how would you feel if another kid commit? Because if another kid call and take this scholarship, sweetheart, I'm gonna have to call you and tell you that you don't have this scholarship. So again, I can only take one kid in that position. Mm-hmm. In per one position, I offer 3 kids. So I'm telling you right now, I would love to have you, but I did offer 3 kids in case you go somewhere else. I couldn't just wait on you the whole time. Right. So I tell them flat out, like we just had this conversation, and actually next week we're having these conversations with the kids, because I'm not liking the progression of the conversation. It's on a standstill. It's not going anywhere. And I think these kids need to know I have 2 scholarships and we got 5 players out there. The first 2 that says yes, I'm gonna have to make the phone call and say, I'm so sorry, but we do not have a scholarship. Mm-hmm. And again, these kids are just thinking, they just jackballing around. I don't know what they're doing. I call it jackballing around, but I think that you need to be firm with them without, and again, I'm not giving them a timetable, but I'm letting them know, what more can we do? We want you. Right. But at the end of the day, we recruited 3 people with this one scholarship. Whoever tells me yes first, just like I'm having this conversation with you, sweetie, I called you, but I call such and such too. I'm going to call such and such. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to be honest with you and very transparent throughout this recruiting process, because if I have to call you and tell you we don't have anything, I just want to make sure that in your heart, I can go to sleep with you saying, well, coach told me that, that it's potential that I could lose a scholarship. So we just had that conversation today. I think it's a great question, but again, I'm not saying you got to give me 2 weeks to let me know, but what you are going to know is that the first kid that says yes is what we're going to take. And I done had this conversation. We got 1 scholarship, and I'm recruiting 3 of y'all in this 1 position. So whichever kid called me and says yes.
Yes. Thank you.
So what you want to do?
No pressure. Just being honest.
No pressure. Just full court. No pressure.
Yeah.
Put the full court on you though. But go ahead, make your decision. I love it. Love it. We'll take one more question. One more. All right. Somebody raised their hand. You can go ahead, just take yourself off mute and ask your question, Coach.
Coach Lee here. I have a question. I'm piggybacking off the film breakdown segment that you had. As far as scouting report, scout team, how soon do you go into that? Let's say after a loss, do you give it a couple of days, or or do you jump right into it following the loss? I just wanted to get your feedback on that, because some different programs work different ways. after a loss, they give the kids time or give yourself time, recuperate, come back, rejuvenated or whatever. And some programs, they jump right into it. Okay, we lost, next game, next order of business. How do you prepare yourself for that?
This is what we do in my program. So after each game, win or lose, we do 8 clips of bad and 8 clips of good. So we always just kind of reflect on like, hey, we do the good and bad so the kids know it, So we always try to get something out of the previous game, whether we win or lose. Because at the end of the day, you can learn from your next game, whether you win it or lose the game. So before we go on to the next school, we always do breakdown of winning, 8 clips of good, 8 clips of bad, and we just talk about, and within that, and what that does too, we probably do the bad first, so we can end on the good, so it can be positive as we transition to our next game. And what we do when we do the 8 clips, 7 or 8 clips of the bad, we'll just talk about like, hey, you guys, we got to make sure that we getting back on defensive transition. We're protecting the basket. So we have those little small teaching moments as well, so we won't make the same mistakes as we did in that previous game. Whether we won or lost, because even if we won, if we make those same mistakes, that can cost us in the next game. So that's what we do before we transition into our next scout or, transition to the next game. We always have to learn from that previous game. And it's very important. We've been doing it since I've been here. I was like, I don't want nothing real long and, I ain't trying to beat up the kids and trying to be negative. We just do, 7 to 8 clips on bad and good. And we always talk about that because, of course, if we being, talking about the negative, we always want to talk about the positive as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Good question.
Love it. So that concludes our coaching corner for tonight.
A lot of gems thrown out there today.
Man, if you didn't get better, it's on you because the information was here, right? The information was here. And we want to say thank you to Coach Richards. We thank you for coming on. And man, I wish people could have just seen you play back in the day. In the Ville, she's actually called Baby Girl. Because she will take your lunch money on the court. That's to men or female. It don't matter. She will take your lunch money on the court. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But we thank you, Coach. Do you have any last words that you want to give anybody that's on the line right now?
First of all, I just want to thank you guys for having me here. And you guys, if you guys need anything, any advice that I can give, I just always say, just be genuine, be who you are, be true to yourself. If you ever see me out, if you ever need anything, you can email me or come up to me. I'm an open book. If I don't know, I'm going to say, oh, I don't know about that. I can get back with you. But I just say continue to work. Wherever you are, work as hard as you can be wherever you are. Don't be trying to look for the next job. Don't be trying to do that. Just be completely invested into where you are. Because to me, you cannot be great until you learn to be great with what you have and where you are. Again, you cannot be great until you learn to be great with what you have and where you are. Because some people always be like, well, if I was at such and such, I'll be better. No, you won't. You got to learn how to be better with what you have and where you are first before you can transition to be better in something greater. Because God don't make no mistakes. And I that's if I can leave you with one thing, learn to be invested in where you are and learn how to be great, work hard, and do your very best to where you are. And maximize that.
Love that.
Man, that was amazing. That was amazing. So we're just going to close out. We always give some encouragement before we end the call. So our encouragement to everybody that's on the call today is, the information that you learn changes your situation. So, don't leave this call and don't apply the information. You sat on the call for an hour. You should be able to get a return on your investment. You invested your time into this call. So take something out of it. Go implement something that you just learned. Try it out. Try the new film stuff out. Do something to move the needle in your personal career, or it was a waste of time. And Coach was wasting her time. So let's make sure we're using the information that we have. We appreciate it, Coach. We appreciate everybody that hopped on today, because you can be anywhere, but we love to share time with our coaches. We love to feed one another. We love to inspire. So thank you, everybody that's on the call.
Yes.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you for everything.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody have a good night.
You
Take
too.
care.
All right. Take care.